What's good, everybody? I'm Keandre, this is Intellect, and welcome back to the channel. Now y'all see the title, and while I usually wait a little bit longer to do these, it felt like a good way to start off 2023, so here we are. Now these are a little bit different than the big boards. Obviously there's got to be some consideration to system and situation. If you're a team like Minnesota, you're not going to take two more centers with your picks, but at the same time we try to stay pretty true to best talent available, especially at the higher parts of the draft. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it, starting with a word from Aura, who has kindly sponsored this video. Now you might recognize Aura from being on the Minnesota Timberwolves jersey patch and ask yourself, well, what is that? Well, Aura is your best and most comprehensive resource for protection against identity theft, financial fraud, and from online threats of your personal information. They've got everything from financial fraud protection that'll monitor your credit and other tools to help keep your financial assets safe, to protection against identity theft, which includes alerting you on passwords being found on the internet, and even helps protect your info against all the spam and robocalls we've all grown to know way too well. And that's just part of it. Every Aura plan also comes with safety tools such as a VPN, antivirus, and alerts when accessing dangerous websites, and even more to help protect your privacy online and keep your data safe both on mobile and desktop devices. And Aura has given all of you a great deal. If you click the link in the description or head to aura.com/hoopintellect, you can get a 2-week free trial, which includes full access to all of Aura's great features. Head over there to get a 2-week free trial and keep yourself protected online. Now back to the mock draft. With the first pick in the draft, the Detroit Pistons select none other than Victor Wembanyama. Obviously, this is the pick here for whoever gets number 1, but as a basketball fan, I'd be especially excited if it was Detroit. Putting someone as dynamic and versatile and unique as Wemby in a core that already includes playmakers like Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, and also an excellent physically imposing center in Jalen Duren, is the potential makings of a young powerhouse in the East. They complement each other extremely well, and in this scenario, Wemby in Detroit immediately makes them a top 5 most exciting team in the league in my opinion, regardless of record, and I think he'd have an amazing rookie season and career in this situation. And with the second pick, the Charlotte Hornets select Scoot Henderson. Now this may not be the most seamless fit on paper, but I do think it works. Scoot is one of the best point guard prospects in recent history. They would be showtime in transition. Scoot can get downhill and finish much better than LaMelo. Melo can shoot and make plays more naturally than Scoot. Scoot will bring you the pull-up. Melo's got the floater. I think they could be one of the best backcourts in the league. And you have a high-level offense for close to 48 minutes as you want. I think there could be some defensive issues that could arise, but that's for later on. Scoot's clearly the number 2 guy for me, and you take him here regardless.
It looked like on the inbounds there was...
Now the third pick is where the draft really starts, and I could see this going in a few different ways at the moment, depending on the team, but we've got Houston and they take Amen Thompson. I think he is one of the most ridiculous and unique athletes I've ever seen. I love what he brings to the table as a playmaker and defensively as well. And regardless of what they end up deciding with KPJ, he's someone I think you could slot in as a primary or more of a wing alongside the both of them. Now the shooting is going to need to make real progress in those early years, but his upside is tremendous, and I really like a Green, Thompson, Jabari, Şengün core of players if they do miss out on Wemby and Scoot.
To a man.
Spurs are in sort of a strange spot here at number 4. I love Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson on the wings, and I really like Sochan long term at the power forward, but they go with the best talent available in my opinion, and that is Cam Whitmore. He started off hot, had some bumps in the road, but has recovered for Villanova, and I like him as an explosive and powerful wing who's shown growing capabilities as a shooter and self-creator, and I think a team like San Antonio could really get the best out of him. With the 5th pick, the Orlando Magic take Ausar Thompson. Getting a guy with Asar's level of athleticism, passing chops, and defensive prowess make him a tough prospect to turn down. His improvements as a shooter have made him an even easier bet, and I think they'd be pretty comfortable betting on his upside in this spot. We'll see where I'm at by the next board, but I'm not opposed to him being the first twin taken at this point. With the 6th pick, the Pelicans take Brandon Miller out of Alabama. He's a 6'9" wing who can shoot the net off and has shown some solid abilities as a ball handler and passer, to like his abilities as that connecting type of wing. I think he would really thrive in a situation like this as a complement to Zion and Ingram, rather than somewhere else where he's potentially asked to be that star creator wing from the jump. And so the rich get richer in New Orleans with this pick at number 6. At number 7, the Wizards go with Keontae George. They have so many directions they could go in here, and I think that'll be a little clearer by June. But one thing's for sure is they need to get a contributor here at the very worst, and fit with Beal or whoever just doesn't matter at this point. Keontae hasn't put it together in terms of efficiency, but he has the tools to be a real scoring threat, and his passing and defense has made me a lot more comfortable with him than I would be otherwise. And he's the pick for the Wizards at number 7. With the 8th pick, the Toronto Raptors take Nick Smith Jr. I think Toronto could go in a ton of different directions here, but one thing I'd like to see them do is get a guy who can create consistent offense in some way. Now, he's not perfect, and the injury really seemed to be affecting him in certain ways, but he's got a knack for scoring the ball and has shown he can make plays so far this year. It's a weird situation for Toronto to be in as an organization if this is where they would land, but I like them taking Nick Smith here. And with the 9th pick, the OKC Thunder take South Carolina's Gigi Jackson. Gigi has some of the highest upside in the class as the youngest guy and a 6'9" forward who's consistently impressed as a scorer and shown flashes defensively. Honestly, Gigi could be more of a top 5 guy by draft time. I'm still a little unsure about him as a ball handler and just fitting into a winning framework on lower usage, but he's supremely talented and could step right in to that 4th spot for them. With the 10th pick, the Orlando Magic take Jet Howard. I think they should prioritize spacing around Paolo and Franz, and Jet does that at a high level without sacrificing height. And in terms of fitting into their system, it would be absolutely seamless. I think Orlando getting Asar and Jet would be pretty scary for the rest of the league. And as long as the Bulls keep losing, they're going to be in a great spot with both of these picks. At 11, the Jazz take Kentucky guard Cason Wallace. Cason is a smothering defender who has shown himself to be a real shooter and someone who likely shine a bit more offensively in the future. I don't think he's a big time creator, but he's solid and just makes winning plays. He'd be great in Utah as a potential successor to Mike Conley, and he fits the brand of basketball Will Hardy has put in place this season. At 12, the Atlanta Hawks take Pepperdine wing Maxwell Lewis. He's still criminally underrated at this point in my opinion, so this may catch some people off guard. But at 6'7", Max is proving himself to be a lottery caliber prospect and could honestly even go higher than this. Someone who can shoot the 3 at a high clip, has solid creation upside, can defend, is a very good athlete. This makes a lot of sense here in Atlanta, and I think it would give them some much needed help out there, losing Herter and with Bogdanovic being a free agent in 2024. With the 13th pick, the Warriors take Kansas wing Grady Dick. Grady would give the Warriors yet another high-level shooting weapon who should be a pretty seamless fit into what they like to do. He's a good ball mover, he cuts and moves with ease. I think he'd be a really good piece for them. He's got some things to work on defensively heading towards the league and isn't the most creative, but at 13 and with the Warriors, you're not asking a lot of that from him anyways. The Utah Jazz take Jarris Walker with the last pick in the lottery. Getting both Cason and Jarris, 2 of the 3 to 4 or 5 best defenders in this class, is a pretty good haul. I think Jarris has more to offer offensively than he's shown with Houston so far. To what extent, I'm not 100% sure, but it's definitely there, especially as a playmaker. He's physically ready for the league, and I think he'd find a way to make a contribution from the jump. Now at 15, the Knicks take Anthony Black. Keeping it simple here, I really like the value of a guy like AB here. He's a 6'7" guard who's got high level abilities as a defender and passer. The shooting inconsistency as an overall playmaker or driver needs some work, but he'd be tough for me to turn down at this point, and I think he fits a lot of what they already do. And if you can get him to flip that switch more consistently, there's an easy top 10 level prospect in there. With the 16th pick, the Miami Heat go with Bryce Sensabaugh out of Ohio State. I think Bryce has a chance to even sneak in the lottery this year. He's scoring 15 points a game in just 21 minutes, shooting ridiculous splits from the field. He's big, he's athletic, he gets to his spots whenever he wants. He's a really interesting player. He's got some things to patch up defensively and in seeing the whole floor, but he can go for sure, and I'd love to see him in a spot like Miami. At 17, the Pacers go with Dariq Whitehead out of Duke, and I think we can look back at this in a few weeks as this being an absolute steal. At 6'6", 6'7", I really like his upside as a shooter. I think his athleticism will pop long term, and he'd be a nice compliment to Tyrese Halliburton and company. In fact, he kind of reminds me of Ben Mathurin in some ways with their strengths and weaknesses, so he could fit in fairly well.
Right now, step back.
With the 18th pick, we've got Chicago taking Khalil Ware. There is a scenario where Ware still goes in the lottery just based on his talent as a 7-footer with his movement abilities and potential to stretch the floor, but this is where he's at comfortably right now. In drafting in this spot with that Portland pick for Chicago, he'd be high on my list of targets as they transition out of the weird Vucevic, LaVine, DeRozan era. Taylor Hendricks is the pick for the Kings at 19. Hendricks is another name many still may not be super familiar with given he plays at UCF, but he's very good and someone I think will be well in that first round range. It's far from perfect, but I like his versatility as a forward at 6'9". He can shoot the three, he's a good athlete, he can defend in multiple spots, though that can still be cleaned up, and I definitely like him joining the Beam team. Phoenix gets some much needed guard help in Terquavion Smith at 20. Finally getting a guard off the bench who is as dynamic a scorer as Turk would be a much different look for them. He gets to learn under CP3 for a year or two as well and hopefully help with some of his decision making. I think this is a perfect landing spot for him and his skill set, and he could really reach his ceiling in a situation like this. The Knicks are back up and take Kyle Filipowski at 21. He's really impressed me this year. I love what he can do as a legit 7-footer who can handle it some, attack the rim, make plays for others, and stretch the floor. He's much better defensively than I thought he'd be as well, so the Knicks take Flip here and would hopefully get a little creative with the lineups with him in there. The LA Clippers take Alabama big Noah Clowney. The Clips can go in a ton of different spots here, but they take a guy I've been really impressed by lately. He's a high upside forward who can stretch the floor, put it on the deck a little, finish and defend at a high level. And given he's still super young, I think he'll only continue to climb for everyone. The Nets go with Ryan Rupert at 23. Rupert is still out with that wrist injury, but I think that late first round type of range is really good for him. A guy with his potential as a defender alone and showing good progress as a shooter makes sense to me. Now the Nets could move this in reality to make a push this year, but I like a guy like Rupert here long term too.
And sometimes you can really...
With their second of 3 firsts, the Pacers take a chance on Amani Bates. Now Amani is one of the most interesting prospects in the class. The scoring and shooting talent is there. He's really unbelievable at times and is about as good a tough shot maker as you'll see. Given the position the Pacers are in right now, they take Amani and try to refine what he has to make it fit into that team framework as much as possible and could hit a home run in the process. Memphis takes a swing with Leonard Miller at 25. He's another oversized wing who can do a little of everything and has started to really figure some things out over the last month in the G League. I think this would be one of his best landing spots as Memphis is one of the best organizations in the league and would be pretty patient and give him the best chance to succeed. And I think he's definitely worth a shot in the late first. Houston takes DeRon Holmes with the 26th pick. At the moment, I think DeRon is the 3rd best center in the class and could continue climbing. He's putting up about 19 and 8 with 2 blocks and shooting 60% from the field and has been a consistent force. He's mobile, catches lobs, he's expanding his range as a shooter, and needing some help in the front court, especially defensively. That's the direction Houston goes. Charlotte goes with Florida State's Baba Miller at 27. Baba is set to return from his NCAA suspension in the next week or so. We'll then get to see whether or not he's a one and done, potential top 20 guy, whatever the case may be. But for now, I'm cool betting on the 6'10 guy with his level of movement and guard skills based on what I've seen from him so far. Judah Mintz is the pick for LA at 28, and there aren't many in this draft who can rival his level of creation and defensive upside at the guard spot. Regardless of if LeBron and AD will continue much longer in LA, I think Mintz is the perfect type of pick here, and I think he could really help them as they try to hopefully build a winner, but also keep some youth in the mix to keep the organization healthier long term. The Jazz are back up once again, and they take UConn guard Jordan Hawkins. Hawkins is a big-time shooter who can defend well out on the perimeter at 6'5". He's a skinnier wing, so it could take a little more time, but he's one of my favorite players in the class, and a huge reason UConn has been one of the best teams in the country. And pairing him with who they already got looks great to me.
Empty side here. Hawkins came running off the head.
Now, I'm not sure Indiana uses all of these picks, but here they kind of go in the opposite direction of Amani and get Chris Murray. Chris is just solid in that wing forward slot. He's made wild improvements as a scorer this year, and while he's not on Keegan's level, his production should translate to the league in a complimentary role, and I like him in Indiana.
Murray from the corner now.
Now getting into the second round a little quicker, the Pistons go with Kobe Jones out of Xavier at 31. I really like his game. He's solid across the board, and his improvements as a shooter have given me a lot more confidence in him. I think he complements their guards really well and could play in a lot of different lineups. Philly goes with Nikola Jurisic at 32. He's still got first round potential, great size and abilities as a shooter and playmaker. He hasn't really hit his stride just yet this season, but the potential is for sure there. I think he'd work well in Philly eventually. The Celtics go with Ricky Council IV at 33. He's been Arkansas's best player for many parts of the season. I really like him on the wing as a high-level athlete and talented scorer. While Boston has no room for like pretty much any prospect in this range, I think he could carve a role out here eventually. The San Antonio Spurs go with DaRon Holmes at 34. I think Jakob Poeltl is a high-level player, but if they indeed do move him in the future, DaRon has the potential to be his successor. He's been ridiculous this year, putting up about 19, 8, and 2 on 60% and being a consistent producer. I think in San Antonio they could use his defensive versatility and play finishing immediately and down the road. JJ Starling goes to Orlando at 35. He could very well be a 2-year guy, but I would take him this year just based on his creation upside and that quickness off the bounce. And being that is something Orlando could still use, they take him here. At 36, the Lakers go with Jordan Walsh out of Arkansas. His improvements offensively make him someone who may not be here this late because he could very well be the best wing defender in this class. But if LA plays it right, they're going to be able to get some really solid pieces in these spots. At 37, the Thunder go with Andre Jackson out of UConn. He's been extremely impressive recently. You still have concerns with him as a shooter and with his half-court offense, but everything he brings defensively, athletically, and as a playmaker, you feel good about with him. And having Chip England there definitely adds to it.
Up with it. And Jackson Hill, he stole it again.
The Nuggets take Dylan Mitchell at 38. Now, as you can see, I feel a lot differently about him as a prospect than the consensus or most popular mocks do right now. However, in a spot like Denver, I think he could really end up hitting. He's a high-level athlete with high-level defensive potential despite not having too much to offer offensively at the moment. The Raptors take Julian Strawther at 39. I think Strawther's pretty plug and play in most places, and having a shooting threat with good size on the wing would help take some pressure off Siakam and Scotty Barnes. LA goes with Terrence Shannon Jr. with their third pick of the draft. He's cooled off quite a bit since the start of the season, but I buy his overall improvements and think he's a good energy and slashing wing bet in the second round.
And they've absolutely...
The Grizzlies take CD Sissoko at 41. CD has had an up and down year, but I still think there's a really productive player in there somewhere in that late first, early second type of range. I think the Grizzlies would be patient with him as well. In best case scenario, I think he gives them a really versatile piece off the bench around Ja, Jaren, and Bane. The Atlanta Hawks take Marcus Sasser at 42. Sasser is still a late first round candidate in the right situation, but here he goes to Atlanta to be that third guard behind DeJounte Murray and Trae Young.
Really pleased with the way his team's...
The T-Wolves take Julian Phillips at 43. There's not much room to do too much offensively at Tennessee, but Phillips still has a lot to like as a legit 6'8 wing who's a good athlete and can defend. Cavaliers need wings and would rather them contribute as quick as possible and take Jalen Wilson here at 44. Jay Will is having a terrific year for Kansas right now, and though he's not going to do anything like the super usage he has currently, I think the steps he's taken as a shooter and overall offensive player are worth betting on, especially for a team who needs guys 6'6 to 6'9 and can defend those wing spots. Charlotte gets a versatile forward in Coleman Hawkins. I still like him, especially in a spot like this, but some of the turnovers and lack of presence in some of the recent games have me questioning him a little more, at least in that first round range.
Clark, who finds Hawkins, a little Euros.
The Nuggets go with James Najee. If they're not going to play Zeke, maybe they'll play James, but either way, James is a high energy and athletic big who eventually could be a service or rotation piece off the bench. The Kings pick Jalen Hood-Schifino at 47. I think he's still got top 40 potential in this class, and he's looked really good since returning from injury, but we will see what happens. Now, if he's projected as a second round pick, I think it would make all the sense in the world to return because I think he has first round type of potential, but I still like him here and I think he'll be a rotation guy in the future. Sacramento is up once again, and they go with Arthur Kaluma out of Creighton. Kaluma has been one of the more frustrating prospects I've watched this year, but his tools and creation upside should still carry him a pretty long way as he figures out how to play more mistake-free and composed basketball. You can't go wrong with a wing shooter at any point in the draft, and Indiana takes Tucker DeVries at 50. There are some concerns about his defense and athletic ability, but he can really shoot it and makes the right play routinely. The Phoenix Suns go with Alex Fudge at 51. It's hard for me to believe that teams won't look at Fudge as a real draft candidate with the way he's improved offensively to match his athleticism and defensive capabilities. The Clippers go with Reese Beekman at 52. He hasn't quite been the same since the injury started this year, but I buy the offensive improvements, and he's got a lot to like on the defensive end to be a second round pick. Amari Bailey is the pick for the Celtics, and he hasn't been great, especially over the last month and now dealing with a foot issue, but the upside is there as an energetic 6'5" combo guard, and it could really work long term in a championship situation like Boston. The Grizzlies go with Kevin McCullough at 54, getting another potential 3-and-D wing in that archetype they seem to like. The Hawks take Matthew Morrell out of Ole Miss, taking a flyer on that high-level athleticism and shooting potential. And finishing it off, the Bucks go with Mojave King at 56 to get another wing in there. The Nets grab Oscar Tshiebwe to potentially muck it up and get extra possessions for a few minutes a game. And the Celtics select Mo Gay with the last pick at 58. Now here's a look back at the entire mock draft. This is extremely far from set in stone. Just like with the board, things are going to change a ton. I think we'll see a lot of teams trading in and out of the second round just from how it looks now and with who owns multiple picks. And unfortunately, we do only have 58 picks once again. So shout out to all the tampering teams and Adam Silver for making this much more annoying and difficult than it really needs to be. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this first mock draft of the year. There's always a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that go into this, and it's way more than just making the picks. So if you guys did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like. It helps the channel out a lot. Subscribe if you are new here. There are way too many of y'all who watch these videos regularly who aren't subscribed, so just go ahead and hit that button for your boy. And also leave a comment down below some of your thoughts on all the picks that were made, you know, good and bad. Just go ahead and leave those down below. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for watching. As always, I'm Keandre. This is Intellect. Until next time, I'm out.